So I invite you to just get comfortable wherever you are, your chair, your bed, and just breathe in deeply. Breathing in, filling up your chest with your breath, filling up your lungs, filling up your stomach. Just taking in this magnificent gift of life. Each breath is sacred and holy. So as we breathe in, we just take this time to check in, to look and see if there's anywhere that we're experiencing any tightness in our body and disconnect. And just use your breath to breathe in and release, and then just invite the goodness into those places and spaces, just making it a little bit easier. I know I keep tension in my shoulders and my face a lot of times. So just breathing in and remembering to let go and let this smile form naturally on our face. Just enjoying this moment, taking great pleasure and an opportunity to have a morning meditation that is completely and totally selfish. It's all for me, it's all for you. So this morning, as I invite you to continue to breathe in and do your breath work, I want to read a poem from the great Sufi master Hafez, the translation, which is called Now is the Time. Now is the time to know that all you do is sacred. Now, why not consider a lasting truths with yourself and God? Now is the time to understand that all your ideas of right and wrong were just a child's training wheels to be laid aside when you can finally live with veracity and love. Hafez is a divine envoy whom the beloved has written a holy message upon. My dear, please tell me, why do you still throw sticks at your heart and God? What is it in that sweet voice inside that incites you to fear? Now is the time for the world to know that every thought and action is sacred. This is the time for you to deeply compute the impossibility that there is anything but grace. Now is the season to know that everything you do is sacred. So I invite you, breathing in, to take in the sacredness of this moment, wherever you are, recognizing that each breath is sacred, that all that we are doing, saying, being, everywhere that we are walking, that it's all sacred. Sacred meaning that we're always connected to God, that it's blessed, that we are blessed. Sacred as in just the moment of awe. Just recognizing this when we walk in nature and the sun falls on our face or the wind touches and caresses us. Looking at the beauty that surrounds us, nature is showing us in each moment its sacredness. So I invite you to go deeply into this idea of sacred, just to embody it. Last week's meditation with Eugene was about really the sacredness of our body, of being grateful for everything, of all the organs in our body. Just recognizing the sacredness that we are as we understand and know that there's one power that we call God, that we call spirit, back of all life, God creating life out of God, We are that substance which is God, and our conscious connection to it is sacred. And we bring the sacred with us in each and every moment. So we use this sacredness, this veracity, and this love to know the truth about ourselves and those that we're in relationship with, to know the truth about our planet and that which is existing right now. As I woke up this morning thinking about this meditation that I was going to do, I found myself in some level of fear. And I dared to sit there with it. I dared to know it and to recognize it. And to recognize that even in fear, that there was this sacredness of going there, of feeling the fear and yet knowing the sacredness of life, the power of this divine essence that we are. Just being in gratitude. Just immersing ourselves and recognizing when we call to mind another being, that that's a sacred. When we hold the hands of our loved ones or we look into their eyes, we see sacred. We see the sacred and the sacredness of life. When we dare to know this truth that we are expressing this nature, this goodness, this godness, that we are truly in grace and blessed in the sacred unfolding of all of life. Right now, we are in this moment, in this time and place, and we just breathe in, continue to do our breath work, each breath sacred, each breath filling us up with the life-giving force. Knowing that we're in the time of great unrest and upheaval, and yet a time of great reckoning and understanding, and this leveling up, this knowing, this conscious knowing our connection to the divine and the choice that we have in each moment, even if we may be faced with a moment that doesn't feel or seem like it's of our design. How we show up is a choice, and it's sacred. So just breathing that in, going to that place and that space within you that knows this truth, that dares to speak this truth, that comes from a sacred place of this truth that we are that which is sacred. We are that which God's Spirit is. We are the divine in form. We are the out-picturing, the outward expression of this divine force. So we give conscious connection to this right here and right now in this meditation. Breathing in and accepting fully and completely ourselves in all those ways that we may still label good and bad, knowing that it's all God out picturing, that it's all spirit out picturing, that it is this freedom out picturing, that it is our belief in freedom from all discord, that it is surely to be experienced by all. We hold these truths. We know the sweet sweetness of the divine truth. So I invite you to just continue to breathe in. Continue to know yourself as the life and the love, the peace and beauty, the power, the wisdom, the abundance that is spirit expressing as only it can through you. You are its realization. We are its magnificence. I breathe this in. I breathe this into all the places and spaces within me that feel some kind of disconnect. And I allow them to know the divine truth and grace and sacredness of life unfolding in and as and through me, because it is me. I'm so grateful to know this. I'm so grateful for being part of this cosmic gathering in which we choose to come together and share this time to hear our message and to level up, to know the sweetness, sweet sweetness of life, that inner peace that we reach, that inner sanctuary that only we can know through each one of us. Beholding the beauty around us and the joy of life expressing. Giving gratitude and thanks for this day. Giving gratitude and thanks as we move into this fall season and watch nature unfold its beauty. And watch nature releasing that which no longer serves it as the leaves fall to earth. Sacred moments of release whenever we consciously let go and recognize the power of our being. We are at choice in each and every moment. We are the blessed divine, living, moving, having its being, speaking, interacting in relationship. And I invite you to do that now in sacredness. Just call to mind those around you that you're in relationship with. As we bring them to our mind's eye, we bless them with grace and with the knowing the true nature of their being. We hold them in high esteem, in grace and wellness. We bring them to light. We bring them into the power of our mind, knowing that we're cosmically connected to them, that we always have been connected to all and everything, as it was in the beginning, and we were there. We are the expansive nature of God in this moment in time, calling to mind those around us, those we're in relationship with, those that we work with, those that we may have a different idea about, or that we're completely opposed to. In this time, in this place of political unrest, calling those to mind and knowing that each life is God's life expressing. Each life that we behold on its own level, at its own rate of consciousness. And we hold all of this life in the knowing that it is God expressing, that it is freedom expressing, that it is truth and light expressing. Continuing to breathe in. Anytime you feel stuck, anytime you feel disconnected, coming back to the power of your breath, to the sanctity of knowing that this is your place and space of power and choice. That it is a blessed moment, that each moment is a blessing. Take this in. Breathe this in. We know these truths. We speak the I am, not just for ourselves, but for those around us. We speak and know, I am beauty. I am love. I am life. I am peace. I am power. I am joy. I am abundance. I am prosperous. I am prosperity. And through all of this, I recognize the sacredness of this. I am willing to accept each and every moment as sacred, as perfect, whole, and complete. Breathing in this divine energy and knowing that now is the time. We are the ones that we've been waiting for. We are cosmically connected, and we are choosing this consciously in peace and power, joy and love. Being grateful for this day and this place and this space. As I continue to breathe into this wholeness, this oneness, as bringing this meditation to an end, just inviting you into keep this holy, sacred space of knowing the truth of who you are, the truth of your magnificent being, the truth that you are divinity in action, that we behold the sacred within each other and ourselves, that we're grateful for knowing this. And I'm going to close with some of the words, the last words of the Lord's Prayer in Aramaic, the forever and ever portion that says La'alam, Almin, translated from cosmic gathering to cosmic gathering. And the Amen or the Amen, may this be the rooted earth center from which all our actions flow. May peace be with you today. May you be well. May you be love. May you be loved. And may you be loving. Namaste. And so it is.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Nope, that's it. That's all the singing you get from me today.
Hallelujah.
Woo! Don't start. That was a beautiful selection. Anyway, good morning, all. And welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living, Greater Baltimore's virtual service. Your host for today is me, Tracy Rhymes. All right, excuse me. Our senior minister, Reverend Dr. Raymont Anderson, will inspire and encourage us later with another powerful message. Our guest musician, who really isn't a guest, is Safi Lynn. And I should say Safi Lynn and Sis. Whew, okay. Y'all, just send some prayers to help me get through this service this morning with this person in the background. Serving as practitioner is one of the hardest working women in CSL. She also led the pre-service meditation. It's Sue Monahan. Assisting with making this service open, inviting, and accessible to the deaf community are our sign language interpreters, Ashley Goldman and Faith Moore. Whew. All right. Before Sue Monahan sets the tone and grounds us in prayer, thank you, Sue. Let me share some things about her. Sue has been part of this teaching since 2004. She has been a practitioner since 2013. Sue believes that we are the point of power in our lives, that our essence is spiritual and it is good. It is her desire to let Spirit reveal this wonderful truth through her. She is committed to CSLGB's vision that we are demonstrating a world that works for all. One life-affirming thought, word, feeling, deed, and one human interaction at a time. We all make a difference in other people's lives. May our light shine for all to see.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome. So I'm just breathing into this moment, into this delightful time, this delightful moment of knowing that there's one power, that this infinite creative potential has created all life out of itself, individualized into each one of us. We are the magnificence of life unfolding. We are the joy of life unfolding. And yes, I can feel it. It feels so good to recognize this truth. It feels so good to know that we're the point of power of choice and that we are cosmically connected. I give thanks for this day, for coming together, for sharing this time, for our magnificent musicians, Sophie and Sister, for our own Reverend Dr. Raymont Anderson, for our interpreters, Faith and Ashley, and our host, Tracy Rhymes. Grateful for Frank and Jim for keeping our Zoom conference going. Giving gratitude and thanks for this day, knowing it is good, all is well. It is unfolding in the magnificence and the glory and the sacred vitality and vibrancy of life. It's all good, and so it is.
And so it is. Thank you, Sue. Thank you, Sue. Thank you, Sue. And yes, holding it down behind the scenes are Frank and Jim.
Thank you.
All right. So the Center for Spiritual Living Greater Baltimore's community honors the world's religion. One tree, many branches. One mountain, many paths. One world, many religions and spiritual traditions. With the lighting of these candles on the first Sunday of each month, we not only honor each person on their select path, but we also bless them and recognize the light, the love, and the life-affirming nature of spirit as it shows itself in each path, in each practice, and in each person. I have some announcements for all of you. The next board meeting is next week, October 18th. Everyone is encouraged to attend, if at all possible. This way, you can stay informed and find ways you may be able to serve. With such things as the new building search committee, the community service, and social events. There's plenty. So all are welcomed. Do you subscribe to CSLGB's YouTube page? Follow us on Facebook, Instagram. If not, we encourage you to subscribe or follow us beginning today. Come on. If y'all could only see his face. Okay. The Science of Mind textbook exploration group facilitated by Reverend Dr. Ray. Wednesdays, 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. and it's on the Eastern Standard Time. Come on and join us. The investment is a love offering and it's directly to Reverend Ray. If you would like more information and to join, email Rev Raymont at CSLGreaterBaltimore.org or Raymont Anderson at RaymontAnderson.com. Thursday night study group facilitated by licensed practitioner Dr. Ronnie Ellington. Woo, woo. Okay, my fault. Who just had a birthday. This is a perfect opportunity to dive deeper into Sunday messages delivered by Reverend Dr. Ray and others. He is giving me all kinds of looks and faces. Uh-oh, here it comes.
I just need y'all to understand that Tracy's, this is her. Can you tell she used to go to church where the minister used to preach and used to say, can you tell? Like, it's obvious. Go ahead.
Oh, so you want me to go there?
No, I don't.
You want me to go there? Okay. All right. Anyway. If y'all want to go deeper into the Sunday messages delivered by that man who was just up here, Reverend Dr. Ray, and others, join them, join her, join in. And how you do it, and to get more information, you contact Dr. Ronnie directly at SISTERRONI@AOL.com. Love offerings are appreciated. And to make sure your email is recognized, put study group in the subject. All right. If you're not, it's important to be. Okay. Membership is belonging, connection, and spiritual growth. Anytime is a good time to become a member, and you can do so now virtually because the discovery class is available online. Contact us at info@CSLGreaterBaltimore.org for more information. Sign up for CSLGB newsletter so you can stay informed about classes, gatherings, virtual meetings, and life-changing happenings in your CSLGB community that are not mentioned on Sunday. Visit CSLGreaterBaltimore.org for more information and to sign up. For more information about the CSLGB Spiritual Activism Group, the CSLGB Book Club, which is meeting on the first and third Mondays at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the LGBTQIA2 plus affinity group, and more. Visit our website. Ready? On three. 1, 2.
Prayer works.
I said on 3. 1, 2.
Prayer works.
See, you know what? Y'all know what to do. I'm just going to count to 3. 1, 2, 3. Prayer works. He had to do it on his own. One more time. Prayer works. Now, we as a community continue to treat and move our feet, knowing the truth for everyone around the planet. Practitioners are available after today's service for one-on-one prayer. And if you're unable to stay, prayer requests can be sent at any time. Whether you want more of something or less of something. Either way, okay, I'm done. Send your prayer requests to info@cslgreattobaltimore.org. Okay, so let me tell you a little bit about Miss Safi. Safi is an international singer, songwriter, musician, and teaching artist who considers her music medicine to open hearts and feed the soul. She sings songs channeled through her with a passion to open and connect hearts around the world. There is so much, so much more that Safi is doing. I encourage you to check her out. Ooh, all right. Thank you, Safi and Shelly. And I should have remembered Shelly because that's my sister's name. All right. So, at this time, Sue will lead us in a spiritual practice.
So good morning. Today I want to read from the Signs of Mind magazine, personal affirmations from another practitioner. Deetra Johnson is a professional practitioner in Jacksonville, Florida. So I was reading this yesterday. I just love this. It's called Cosmic Connections. So I invite you to just be comfortable where you are, just breathing in deeply and taking in these words. When I hear the word cosmos, I go back to being a little girl. I remember feeling the stillness of the night sky. It still sparkles the way it did then. I can see my mother smiling at me and saying, "You shine just like the star." It is like that childhood wonder I carry with me today as I continue my spiritual journey. Tonight, I take time to step outside, look into the sky, and feel the wonder of the universe. I remember the scripture, "Be still and know that I am God." I allow my light to sparkle as one of the divine stars of the earth. To an adult, the cosmos is the most complex and mysterious reality imaginable. For me, the cosmos is that part of the great unknown, the invisible but visible part of creation. I liken it to my own being. There is the visible part, my physical body. Then there is the invisible part, my spiritual body. My spirit body is a mystical, energetic field. This field is a part of the Earth's electromagnetic field. My spirit body is connected to the cosmos, and my physical body is an electromagnetic body attached to this Earth. The unity of energetic fields is defined as me. It allows me to know I am always connected. This is the cosmic connection. I am a magnificent being of energy, light, and love. As part of my spiritual journey, I look to deepen my connection to spirit and the cosmos by increasing the vibrations and frequencies of my energetic field. Research shows we can raise our frequency through the human heart. It is the harmonic vibration that lifts our hearts and divine voice in harmony with heaven through meditation. It's called the love frequency, also known as the miracle note. My heart is open to the love frequency as I expand my cosmic connection. I am a love note in the harmonic symphony of the cosmos. It just felt so wonderful, and hearing Safi and Shelley and their harmony today just is, to me, a cosmic connection. So today, as we dive deeper into this cosmic connection, this harmonic frequency and vibration and vitality that exists within each one of us, we give gratitude for this day. We give gratitude for this message, for the practices, for coming together, for the music and sound. It all elevates and uplifts each one of us. And we know that whenever two or more are gathered together, that there is a power that can be sensed and felt, that we are elevating the collective consciousness, the magnificence in this place, in this planet, right here and right now. And we know that there is peace on earth. In gratitude and thanks and remembrance of the light and the love that we are and we share. It is all God. I release this. It is all God. It is all good. I know that it is done to each of us as we believe, and we believe in the highest and best good for all life. And so it is.
And so it is. Thank you, Sue. Okay, now is the time for some inspiring words from the Center for Spiritual Living, Greater Baltimore Senior Minister. Reverend Dr. Raymont Anderson has frequently been referred to as a Renaissance man. One look at his resume and the reason becomes clear. As a lifelong learner with a passion for self-development, personal transformation, transmutation, and self-awakening, he lives his bliss as a teacher, mentor, speaker, minister, and so much more. His mission is to live, move, and be an active, authentic, compassionate, transparent, inspired, vibrant, and empowered member of society who serves to educate, elucidate, emancipate, awaken, and empower people and communities. Reverend Ray, come and do what you do.
Thank you very much. At this time, I'd like to thank Safi, Shelley, Sue, and Silly Tracy. Wow, today's a day full of S's. Yes. I should have worn my Superman shirt, then it would have, woo. Okay, so today we're continuing our conversation about cosmic connections. If you were not here for Sue's pre-service meditation, then you know you were just now here for her in-service spiritual practice where she talked about, this idea of us being a love note in the cosmos, the harmonics of the cosmos. And just, basking in this idea, recognizing that God being all there is, then we are all infinitely connected, not just to it, but we are connected as it. Today, we're talking about this idea of inextricable, indivisible, and inseparable. When we use any of these words that are in the title, we are addressing one aspect of our relationship with God, which is the one bridge that links all of life together and is the divine intelligence that is back, front, top, bottom, inside and out of all things. It is in our nature to be in community, to feel connected, and to establish a sense of belonging. Today, we are going to explore what it means to let go of the barriers that we have allowed to make us feel and experience this idea of being separated, of being apart from. And if we think about this idea of the pandemic, when it first started, it was being socially distant. And then we said, well, we're not socially distant because we can still be socially connected through the phone, through Zoom, through Facebook. We can still be socially connected, but we're being physically distant. Okay? But there's also recognizing, what Sue alluded to and mentioned, and there's this idea that even when we are, quote unquote, physically separated, there's an energy, there's a power, there's a presence, there is love, that even in this separation of physical space, the energy of it still keeps us connected. So when we think of it that way, then, are we really separated from anything? And if we think about it, we know that there's the old paradigm where we think about things being connected or disconnected. We think about, well, if we can braid something or interweave something, then whatever that is can be unwoven. It can be taken apart. If someone is holding hands, their hands can be separated, which means they are no longer connected. If we're on the phone or we're on Zoom and there's an internet glitch or something goes, then the phones can go down, the internet can go down, there can be a disconnect. And oftentimes, because we can see this idea of a disconnect, you don't pay your light bill and the electric company will disconnect, turn off your lights. The gas company will disconnect, turn off your gas. Turn off, disconnect your phone. So we have this idea, and we apply this same idea to God. That we have this old paradigm that says, but I can be disconnected from God. When I don't pray, I'm disconnected from God. When I don't meditate, I'm disconnected from God. And that's a lie. It's an old paradigm. You can never be disconnected from God. Breathe that in. Whether you pray or not, you are still connected because what it is, you are. So think of it this way. Suppose I close my eyes. Right now, my eyes being closed, I have disconnected from what I was seeing. But now that my eyes are closed and I can't see the room in which I am standing, does that mean I am disconnected from the room? Somehow I am now floating in outer space. I'm in the twilight zone simply because my eyes are closed? No, I'm still connected to the room. I can still hear the echo of my vocal cords vibrating and sending sound, and the sound bouncing off the walls and the ceiling. I can still be connected. So if we really think about it, then, this old paradigm of being able to be disconnected, it's time to shift this and recognize that this cosmic connection, this divine connection, no matter what, cannot be destroyed, separated. We cannot be. It's impossible for God to be anything other than what God is. And if God is living, moving, and having its absolute beingness in, through, and as each and every one of us, then there is an infinite connection and relationship of all things to all things. Intimate relationship of how God relates to itself in, through, and as everything. Brene Brown says, spirituality is recognizing and celebrating that we are all inextricably connected to each other by a power greater than all above us, and that our connection to that power and to one another is grounded in love and compassion. Grounded in love and compassion. We are connected because of that which God is as love itself, living, moving, and having its loving beingness as all that is. That's what our spirituality, that's what our path, that's what this whole life is about. Recognizing more and more deeply who and what we are as the divine, living and being and expressing as all that is. But let's venture back to this idea, inextricable, indivisible, and inseparable. Now, if I were to ask you, what do any of these words mean? You're going to give me some definition. For a moment, let's see what the dictionary says about this word. Inextricable. New paradigm. Inextricable. Impossible to disentangle or separate. Impossible to. It's impossible to separate. Impossible to escape from. There's a book, I can't think of the author right this moment, but there's a book called Trap for God, with a God trap. The idea of catching God. It's impossible to escape from God. We cannot escape from that which we are. We cannot escape from life. There is only one life, and that life is God. And that life is living, moving, and having its beingness in, through, and as each and every one of us. It is impossible to escape from that. You cannot escape from your spiritual, electromagnetic, cosmic power. You cannot escape from it. It is who and what each and every one of us is. Ernest Holmes says, we are in an infinite mind, and infinite mind is also in us. It is by this mind that we think. This mind is eternal. Therefore, we are eternal. This mind is complete. Therefore, we are spiritually complete. Even though we may not appear to be so, the truth of our being is that we are whole, perfect, and complete. Because that which we are, the infinite I am, ever becoming more and more of itself as us, is wholeness, completeness, and absolute perfection. Incarnating, individualizing itself as each one of us. You can't escape that. So if you remember last week, we talked about self-care, and we talked about the 5 people you meet in heaven, heaven being a state of consciousness, and the 5 people you are most close to, your closest friends, amigos, amigas, those people who are closest to. Today, let's talk about self-talk, though, because that is part of self-care. What are the things you say to yourself when you are thinking in your own mind, when you are speaking in your own space, when you are home alone, or you may be, home with people like Tracy, and you talk to yourself? I don't know, because oftentimes I have to say, did you just say something to me? No, I'm talking to myself again. Okay, you might want to let me know that. Say, hey, Tracy, talking to ourselves again, let me know.
When you going to put you on blast when you have your own personal conversation?
Excuse me, the sermon time. It's
exactly.
part of my sermon. So, what are the things that we say? How often are we building ourselves up when we are having self-talk? How often are we tearing ourselves down? How often are we reminding ourselves that we are not divine and not connected? How often are we talking about the others and creating this space of separation and segregation? And how often are we doing that? Versus how often are we finding ways to walk across that infinite eternal bridge that it said God is, that which connects us because it is connected to itself in all time, space. It is all that is. How often are we engaging in that conversation within our own minds and our own hearts? When we're driving down the highway and, someone cuts us off, there's no one else in the car, and the person in that car can't hear you. So whatever comes out of your mouth in that moment, when you're calling them anything but a child of God, technically that's self-talk, because it's only yourself who is saying it, and only yourself who is hearing it. So you're cursing out, I know you're cursing them out, but because they can't hear you, technically, you're cursing yourself out. And because there's only one of us, deeper level, that's God choosing to curse God out. Yeah, I know that's a rough one, because somebody in this house has road rage sometimes.
Don't even try it. Don't tell people what you do. You're the minister.
You got jokes. So, but this idea of how are we connecting to even those people who we do not, in whatever moment, do not find any similarities. People who in this moment we find more reasons to be disconnected because of ideology or political affiliation or any number of things, and we find more reasons to build walls and barriers and barbed wire and piranha and alligators in a moat to keep ourselves separated, and we think what we're doing is protecting ourselves. But when we isolate ourselves, we are creating a paradigm, a level of consciousness that is keeping us isolated from that which God is as well. And we understand that we're only going to be able to receive as much of the infinite as we allow ourselves to. So when we create walls and barriers, what we're doing is shrinking the container of our consciousness, which then, if our container is getting smaller and smaller, then we're able to only receive that which is getting smaller and smaller. Rather than, how do we expand? Just because I have expanded my territory and I have reached the expanse of greater and greater territory doesn't mean I welcome people in to abuse and traumatize, and doesn't mean that. It simply means that I understand that that which God is needs no boundaries, borders, or barriers. And so I see through and past whatever is appearing, and I choose to find, even if I never speak to this person, I choose to find somewhere in my space, in my heart, in my mind, in my consciousness, where I can say, recognizing that God is all there is only one life, and that life is God, then that life is living, moving, and having its beingness as this person, as this group of people, as this, and I, in this moment, choose to know their divinity for them, because in this moment they are not able or willing to know it for themselves. Then our expanse, our territory expands, our container expands. Who are your five? Who are your five closest inner thoughts? Those affirmations, things that we say, keeping in mind that you can affirm how stupid, how awkward, how clumsy, anything that you are stating as being true for you is an affirmation. What are your five? What are your five go-to inner statements of truth versus the lie? What are your five go-to phrases, declarations? Because if we're not connected to them, then there's some default setting that's going to speak for us. And who's talking? Is it the divine part of ourselves talking? Is it the traumatized part of ourselves talking? Is it the part of us that has low self-esteem, low self-confidence, low self-worth? Who's doing the talking? Because if we're not mindful of any of this, then whatever old paradigm, whatever old state of consciousness, whatever old inner recording is going to continue to play. It's like, for those of us who remember what records, like actual LPs, you put it on, and if it was scratched, and you put the needle on, and the needle starts to go around, and it hits the scratch, and then it goes back. So we can say, I'm really awkward. I'm really awkward. I'm really awkward. I'm over and over and over again until we move the needle and change the record. So if we're not aware, then we are playing someone's old share, like some teacher, some parent, some minister, someone gave us something that we took and made it our own, and that if we're not changing it consciously, actively, then it's still playing in the background of our minds, reminding us that we are not the infinite I am. So, who's doing the talking and who's doing the listening? Because keep in mind, our thoughts are prayers. And we are always praying. So who's listening? The law that always says yes. Everything you say, everything you think, on some degree or level of consciousness, the law is listening, receiving, in the same way that no matter what you plant in the soil is receiving. The law is receiving. So who's listening? If we are more mindful of who's listening, recognizing that when we repeat whatever the affirmation is over and over and over again, not only are we anchoring it in our individualized mind and consciousness, but we're also sowing those seeds into the law of mind in action. We are creating a self, lowercase s self, fulfilling prophecy, and a capital S self, fulfilling prophecy, because what the law is receiving, the law is working on, activating, and bringing into our lives. So who's listening to what we are thinking in our hearts? So, talk to yourself at least once a day. Otherwise, you may miss. Watch it, Tracy. Stop it. Stop it. At least what? Stop it. At least once a day. Otherwise, you may miss meeting an excellent person in this world. And what Swami is referring to is when you are talking to yourself, talk to yourself. Don't talk about yourself. Because what we tend to do is talk about ourselves in terms of criticism, etc. But talk to yourself. Talk to both your lowercase s self and build that consciousness up, and talk to your capital S self, your divine true self, the absolute self of your being, the I am that I am ever becoming. Talk to it. Sow into the law of mind and action what you know or what you desire to know to be true of and about yourself. Because when we do that, we are building the container and expanding the territory of what it means to be intimately, infinitely, inextricably connected to all that is. Ernest Holmes says, no person ever walks life's road alone. There is ever another who walks with them. This is that person's inner self, the undying reality, which this person's personality but poorly emulates. Let us learn to be still and let the truth speak through us, to be still and know that inner light shines. So what Holmes is reminding us here is that no matter where we are, God is. No matter where we go, God is. No matter what. When I feel sad and am grieving or mourning the transition of my mother, God is there. I am not alone. When in the past I would get depressed and want to eat comfort food and eat, and I would wallow in the depression, God is there no matter what. When angry, God is there no matter what. When lonely, God is there no matter what. When feeling lost or afraid, God is there no matter what. So the idea is, if I am not alone and that which God is infinitely, eternally, inextricably where I am as me, then let me learn to be still and let this speak truth. Let this speak this truth to me, through me, as me. Let me no longer allow my personality to poorly emulate this truth, but let me expand in my expansiveness of the infinite I am. Let me move the boundaries and the borders so that I expand my understanding and recognition of what and who I am. That the light of what God is in me, through me, and as me may shine. Because keep in mind, right now we don't necessarily have a word, per se, to talk about if it's inextricable, it can't be separated, then what does that mean? To talk about, okay, so what's the opposite? Okay, it's unity, it's oneness. It's infinite oneness, yes. But what we do is we tend to sometimes use words for linguistic convenience to talk about concepts and ideas and paradigms that are not necessarily the highest way of stating it or referencing it. For example, real quick, someone recently asked me, Reverend Ray, how do we get past being racist if we're still talking about being anti-racist? Right? And yes, that is a valid question. But sometimes, in order to get through the depression, in order to get through the PTSD, in order to get through the illness, the discord, the dis-ease, the whatever it is, the physician must talk about it with the patient or the client. So where we are right now as a country, as a planet, as a people, we are talking about the illness, the discord, the dis-ease, and when we get on the other side where it no longer exists, then we will create a new language to talk about where we are then, rather than where we are now or where we have been. Follow what I'm saying? So, do not be afraid of using particular words for linguistic convenience as long as we are connected and anchored to what we know truth to be. Depending on how old you are, you may remember the commercials. When E.F. Hutton speaks, Tracy did this. People listen. And every commercial would start off with two people, somebody saying, well, you know, E.F. Hutton says, and then everybody around them, whether it's a restaurant, whether it's this golf course, everyone paused and would lean in. Because when E.F. Hutton speaks, people listen. But the question is, when God speaks, what? When God speaks, we have any number of, we have insights, aha moments, we have awareness, we have all of this when God speaks. And let us be mindfully aware that God, what God is always speaking. God is not only the words that are spoken. God is also the green in the leaves. God is also the music from Shelley and Safi. God is also the meditation from Sue. God is also the prayer from Marianne. God is also everything in us, through us, around us. God is always speaking, which is why I say God does not have a still, small voice. The sound of God, the words of God, the activity of God is always loud and clear. The question is, are we having other kinds of background noise that seem to drown out the voice of God, the word of God, the truth of God? You know, when someone says, do you recognize and realize that you are that which God is? And our background noise plays in, it comes in. It's the old Christian teaching that we may remember. It's the voice of our grandmother or grandfather saying, turn that light down, boy. When you're thinking too good highly of yourself. Turn that, you're too proud, and pride cometh before a fall. Is it all of that background stuff coming in, drowning out our awareness? Keep in mind, when God speaks to you, there is poetry, there are movies, there is art. When God speaks through you, there are insights, there is intuition. And when God speaks as you, prayer is answered. Truth is known. When do we elevate and get to the point? How do we move through and get to the point when we recognize this? Spiritual practices. Engaging in our spiritual practices. Right now, this month is Cosmic Connections. So the spiritual practice is, how do we connect? How do we connect to ourselves? How do we connect to another? How do we connect to that which our awareness of what God is? How do we connect? One way is contemplation. The general definitions of contemplation: the action of looking thoughtfully at something for a long time. A deep, reflective thought. Thought, meditation, consideration, pondering, and reflection. But what I want to point out is, a couple of weeks ago, we were in the Wednesday evening class, and Dana, I don't know if Dana's on right now, but Dana mentioned contemplation, and she reminded us in the Wednesday night study, the Wednesday night Science of Mind exploration group, that contemplation is also concentration on spiritual things as a form of private devotion and a state of mystical awareness of God's being. How often do we contemplate the mystical awareness of God's beingness as each and every one of us? And how often do we have the expectation of answered prayer, the expectation of success, the expectation of abundance and health? How often do we connect to what it means to expect the universe to respond? What color is this? Tracy's doing the sign for it. For anyone on there, feel free if you want to. But the question is, regardless, what color is, can you deplete it? Can we use blue so much that blue runs out? Now, I'm not talking about having one can of blue and I use up all the can and I don't have any more in the can and now it's gone. I'm saying when I use up all the blue paint in the blue paint can, that blue everywhere ceases to exist. Is that possible? We have a variety of ways that blue shows up. We have many, many, many swatches of blue. Blue can be used for donuts. Blue can be used for crayons. Blue can be used for beads. Blue can be used for or seen in flowers. Blue can be seen in berries. Blue can be seen in butterflies. Blue can be seen in blue jeans. Blue can be seen in birds. It can be seen in the water, in the sky, and blue men. I don't quite get the blue men, but blue can be seen in the blue men. But the idea is blue is never depleted, and neither is God. Blue, music, art, creation itself can never be depleted. That which God is, the more we recognize and connect to it, the more we are able to connect to more of it. Ernest Holmes says, the more divine powers we use, the more divine power is placed at our disposal. For there is that which scattereth and yet increaseth. The more we affirm and declare the truth, the more truth shows up in our lives, in us, through us, and around us. The more prayer is answered actively and consciously. The more you use your divine power, the more divine power you have to use. Ernest Holmes says, if at times we doubt our ability to use the law, we should again remind ourselves that it is not I, but the Spirit or the Father in me that does this work. This will straighten out our thought. and place us once again on the road of faith and understanding, staying open to being connected, simply breathing and recognizing that which God is always moving in, through, and as. It is not my individual will that needs to will something into being, but it is that divine power back of, infused in inextricably that which I am that does what it does as me. There's an old symbol, the Ouroboros, which shows, it is an old ancient mystic symbol that shows the endless continuity of spirit, of God, of life, of creation. Let us be reminded that this infinite, circular, same as our breathing, there is an inhale, circular exhale. There is when my arm reaches and the muscles expand to make my arm extend, there are also muscles that contract to make this happen. There's always this divine circular, always. And the more we recognize it, the more we are able to dive in deeply to this power. Ernest Holmes once again says, I expect everything I do to prosper. I enthusiastically expect success. I let good flow into my experience. I am seeking good in every direction. I am looking forward to more good. I am entering into a deeper understanding of life. I am recognizing my union with all people and all events. Breathe. Because where are we getting ready to go next? I am recognizing my union with all people and all events. Because Reverend Rafe Ellis, not sure exactly when, but in reference to a school shooting and the school shooters, Reverend Rafe Ellis, a CSL minister, said at the CSL Sierra, I believe, said, I am the child that was shot in the classroom. I am the teacher that was unable to protect the child. I am the mother that lost my child. I am the shooter. And I venture to say I am the mother and the father of the shooter. I am the bullet. I am the activist for gun control. I am the activist for the Second Amendment. I am the Second Amendment. I am the Capitol building in which the Second Amendment is debated, and I am. Fill in the blank. I am. So remembering what Holmes said, we are connected to, through, and as everything and everyone. The moment we start to make separation, we other people, and we create animosity and enemies. We create strife and more chaos, rather than diving in and saying, yes. Now, what is mine to do in recognizing this? What is mine to do in recognizing that God is all that is? What is mine to do? Is mine to contact my congressman, senator, governor, or whomever, and say what I need to say regarding gun control or the Second Amendment? Is mine to do to say something regarding showing up in a school to be the one who helps the teachers and the students move through grief? What is mine to do? How do I create a world that works for all? Recognizing that my thoughts, what I think, are doing something in the entirety of the mind of God, which means the thoughts I think are affecting the people in China and India and South Africa, Greenland and Canada, that we are not an island into and unto ourselves, but that we are all connected. How contagious are you with these thoughts? Are you contagious enough to let that love and joy and light shine forth, move forth, creating more and more of a contagion of love and joy and light and spiritual magnificence, so that we have confirmed states where love has outbroken, where we have confirmed states and cities with outbreaks of peace and joy, confirmed outbreaks around the world of unity and oneness. Or are we contagious with animosity and othering and xenophobia and homophobia and transphobia, sexism, racism? Are we contagious with that? Or are we ready to tip the scales of consciousness and do what is ours to do, recognizing the oneness of God? Our application and practice for this week. Contemplate the nature of God as your nature. That there is not what is God's nature and there is what is Tracy's nature or Ray's nature. There is only the nature of God, and that nature is our nature. What are you invited to change as you contemplate your divinity? Is there anything in your life when you recognize I am, not just I am divine, but I am divinity in expression? Is there anything that I am now invited to change in how I show up? Identify 3 areas of your life: habits, relationships, anything that you are willing to shift, elevate, and heal. These could be physical elements, emotional elements. They could be related to food or addiction, coping skills, finances, whatever they are. Identify 3 areas that you are now willing to shift, elevate, and or heal. What are you invited to do differently? How are you invited to speak differently? And how are you invited to connect with self and others differently? This week's declaration or affirmation: God is that which it is. God is, and that which it is, I am. Pause. That which it is, we are. Pause. God is, I am, we are one. Together. God is, and that which it is, I am. That which it is, we are. God is, I am, we are one. And we breathe, simply allowing the receptive state of love and joy and gratitude to fill us up as we now welcome back the musical magic and majesty of the dynamic duo of Safi and Shelley.
Oh, I love tournament. You love tournament. Yay, Rainbow! Oh, yay! I'm on the track. Thank you all.
Okay, so what I was saying was amazing as always. Thank you, Safi and Shelley. I love that song. And I was saying, I hear the voices, not those voices, stop it. I hear the voices of peace showing up around the planet, and the sound of love and oneness and unity, happiness, the sound of children playing in a school where they no longer need to worry about active shooter scenarios, like that's a thing of the past. And the sound of every voice lifting and singing till earth and heaven ring, ringing with the harmonies of liberty, spiritual magnificence in a world that works for all. So this time in service, we remind ourselves that as an organization, CSL Greater Baltimore, as a business, CSL Greater Baltimore uses your tithes and offerings for the business runnings of the center. But as a spiritual organization, your tithes and offerings are your demonstration of sowing seeds back into where you are spiritually fed, sowing seeds into your beloved spiritual community, knowing that as a community, the more the community prospers, the more you prosper. The more we as a community grow, the more things we as a community are able to do. Imagine when we as a community are so prosperous and connected and like in it that we as a community are able to go to the Hippodrome or able to take a field trip to Broadway, or we're able to, like all the things, we're able to have Tai Chi classes and yoga classes and Reiki and walk the labyrinth and all of these things. So just keeping in mind that as a spiritual community, part of what is ours to do is practice how we give of our time, our talent, our tithe, and our treasure. Keeping in mind, for those who may not have heard this before, you may be new today, the practitioners of CSL Greater Baltimore have pledged that by the end of this year, December, the practitioners, in addition to their regular tithe and offerings, they have pledged to raise $5,000 for the CSL Greater Baltimore Expansion Fund, and thus far we are at $3,297.50. Dr. Ronnie wants to see this become a minimum of $4,000 by the end of October. Challenge accepted. Also know that there was an ask of the community to match, in whatever way, to match the pledge, and thus far as a community, $500 has been given as a matching to double the impact of CSL Greater Baltimore, and we are grateful for you. Yes. If you are wondering, how do I, especially in this time of physical distance, how do I give of my tithes? Through PayPal, through text messaging, text to give, or through the postal mail. Any of these ways are ways that you can give your offering, your tithes, your donation. If you want more information, you can go to the website, cslgreaterbaltimore.org/giving, and also know that you can designate a portion of, so you don't have to write 2 checks or do 2 PayPal clicks to say, well, I want this to be my regular tithe, and I want this to go to the expansion matching fund. You can put it all in one in the memo or on the check or in a letter and say 50% to this, 25 to this, and 25 to that. You can designate. And if you're not sure what you can designate to, like, is there an education fund? Is there an emergency care fund? Contact one of us, Sue, or any of the board members, and feel free to ask, and we will give you greater information on how your tithes can be used in that manner. Now, together, let us declare our prosperity declaration. I joyfully, consciously, and gratefully participate in the law of circulation. I trust in the spiritual principle that says, as I sow into my beloved community, I demonstrate my awareness of standing not only in the flow, but as the flow itself. As I sow of myself, my time, my treasure, my talent, I demonstrate my support and engagement in my community's vision, mission, and purpose. I actively give as a demonstration of manifesting, of reaping the harvest of a world that works for all. And so it is.
And so it is.
So this time of service, Tracy loves to remind everyone, go out today and make today awesome.
Woo!
Each and every one of us has the innate divine power to do so. We do not have to, follow the humdrum of the weatherman, the humdrum of the political analysis, the humdrum of the Facebook trolls and haters. We don't have to follow the humdrum of any of these folks. We get to set the course of our own consciousness and our own lives and actions. So make today an awesome day.
Yeah, and thank you, Frank, for holding things down solo.
Amen. And after service, for those of you who are desiring to have a one-on-one session with a practitioner, make sure that when we were done and Frank and Tracy opened the chat and opened the volume so people can speak, type into the chat that you want prayer so we can match you up with practitioner so you can pray. So type it into the chat so we know. That way we know who's going what and where. And if you're not able to wait, then know that you can email or call at any time to schedule prayer with any of the practitioners or with myself. Just know that if you're not able to stay today, that doesn't mean we're not going to pray with you. just means that, you know, there's one, maybe two
Anytime.
practitioners. We can pray at any time. And now our closing benediction, simply anchoring and recognizing that that which God is intimately, inextricably individualizing itself in, through, and as all that we are. The very visual of a rainbow. The red is not disconnected from the yellow, is not disconnected from the purple, is not disconnected from the green, that they are all inextricably interwoven, connected, and bound as a rainbow connection. And this rainbow demonstrates to us a promise of the divine, that there is diversity and inclusivity and celebrating the very nature of all that we are. El-Alam, Al-Min, Amen, the very power and presence of the divine, the very cosmic, everything of creation is breathing this breath, is moving these vocal cords and these hands in sign. It is the very allness of. And so as we close service, we close it recognizing and knowing that wherever we are, God is. And that the goodness and wholeness and perfection of God must also be wherever, whoever, and however we are. There is only one life, and that life is God. And that life is our life right now. Life, God, living itself as us. And so it is. Namaste and blessings, everyone.
So it is. Namaste and blessings.
Have a wonderful, powerful, and beautiful week.
Make it a wonderful and powerful and beautiful week.